بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. Alhamdulillah, continuing on the hadith of Ahkam, the hadith which we base our rulings upon. The next hadith, we started the chapter of Tayammum. It's a short chapter because of the limited number of narrations about the Tayammum itself. But again, Tayammum is when you use the natural surface of the ground, dirt, dust, rocks, pebbles, or whatever you can, to do the wiping. And we talked about the narration before where the Prophet ﷺ would strike the ground and blow on his hands, wipe his face, and then wipe his hands. And then we talked about some of the differences of opinion that the madahib have about the extent of how you wipe your hands and so on and so forth. The next hadith that the author mentions is from Jabir ibn Abdullah رضي الله عنه. He said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أعطيت خمسا لم يعطهن أحد قبلي. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, I have been given 5 things that no one before me was given. Meaning no prophet before him صلى الله عليه وسلم was given these things. نصرت بالرعب مسيرة شهر. I have been given help or victory through striking fear in the heart of my enemy the distance of a month. Meaning the distance of a month's worth of travel. The people that are that distance far away from me, they have this fear of me that will cause me to overcome them. وَجُعِلَتْ لِي الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. The second one is the relevance of the hadith to our chapter, that the earth has been made for me a masjid, meaning a place of sujood. You can pray anywhere on this earth, given the conditions that we talked about before. And tahura, it is also, the earth in and of itself can be used to purify. So no previous nation before in their sharia was allowed to use a substitute for water for purification. That is the understanding of this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, I have been given these things particularly. What's also understood is that formal prayer was restricted to places of worship, whereas we are able to perform our fard prayer, formal prayer, anywhere. Whether you're in the masjid, whether you're outside the masjid, you can pray it anywhere. فَأَيُّمَا رَجُلٍ مِّنْ أُمَّتِي أَدْرَكَتْهُ الصَّلَاةُ فَلْيُصَلِّ. So I said, anyone in my ummah, anytime the salah comes upon them, no matter where they are, they will pray their salah. If they don't have water, they can use the dirt, and they can pray on the earth itself as well. وَأُحِلَّتْ لِي الْمَغَانِمُ. And spoils of war have been made lawful for me, meaning the whatever was wealth was gained from fighting, from war, then the Prophet ﷺ and the Ummah can benefit from that. And this is something that the previous Shari'ahs didn't necessarily allow for in the way that it allowed for the Prophet ﷺ. وَأُعْتِيتُ الشَّفَاعَةَ وَكَانَ نَبِيُّ وَأُعْتِيتُ الشَّفَاعَةَ. The fourth one is that he was given shafa'ah, the intercession. And we know that is the major intercession of the Day of Judgment and so on and so forth. وَكَانَ النَّبِيُّ يُبْعَثُ إِلَى قَوْمِهِ خَاصَّةً وَبُعِثْتُ إِلَى النَّاسِ عَامَّةً. And every prophet before me was sent specifically to their people, to their nation. And I have been sent to all of mankind. I have been sent to all of mankind, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What's interesting in this hadith, the reason they mention this is because the relevance of that phrase, جُعِلَتْ لِي الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. So he mentions it in the chapter of Tayammum. But what's really interesting about this as well is when the Prophet ﷺ is telling us things that he has been specifically given, that no other prophet before him has been given, everything else seems like a big major thing, right? Everything else is kind of like a major deal. That that the enemy will be fearing it. That he will strike fear in the hearts of the enemy. The spoils of war is related to the battlefield as well. The fact that he has been sent to all of mankind. The fact that he has been given shafa'ah, meaning he will intercede to start the process on the Day of Judgment. He will be the one to ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to finally admit people into Jannah. These are the 2 major shafa'ahs that the Prophet ﷺ will be responsible for doing. And in the middle of this, you have the mention of tayammum, that you can use the dirt to you can pray anywhere you want, and you can use the dirt to purify yourself. And so it seems like kind of a trivial thing to mention, amongst all these major things, the fighting and the battle people give their lives up for, then the akhirah, that's what we're working so hard for. And then in the middle of it, you have this issue of tayammum, right? But it's coupled with the fact that the earth in and of itself is a place for salah, and that the dirt and the soil of this earth can be used to purify yourself. Now, obviously, you can think about this as much as you want. This is where you use your tafakkur, your pondering to why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically given these things to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But because everything else is significant, then tayammum is also something that is significantly important. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has understood and allowed that this world will progress and people will find themselves in difficult situations. And throughout the history of the sharia that Allah Azza wa Jalla has been revealing from the time of Adam alayhi salam to the time of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, He has been facilitating for mankind, making things easier, making things more precise, and so on and so forth. And so we were the ones that have been blessed. No other nation before us has this way of performing purification. And so we have this blessing as well. So again, it is something that is unique in the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's something we should just be fully aware of. It's very, very simple. How do you perform tayammum when you don't have access to water? And again, one of the signs that this tells us, and it's also coupled with issues of war and issues of the akhirah, that the believers may find themselves in difficult times. And again, you look right now, right, not just Gaza, but even other parts of the world where it's it's very difficult. Not even drinking water can come in at a certain amount of time, right? People are starving, but they're still praying, they're still performing their salah, they're still doing their ibadah. But if they don't have water to do their wudu, what can you? That we have a whole portion of the world right now that is probably just praying their salah on tayammum. You have so many people around this world that are probably praying their salah in tayammum. You had the famine or the starvation or whatever that was happening in Yemen. You have the crisis in Sudan. So you have these areas where people always find themselves in crisis. They find themselves as refugees. Just not so long ago when you had all the chaos that was happening in Syria and people migrating from one place to another. If they're believers, they're stopping to pray. Right? If they don't have enough water, then they're performing tayammum to do their salah. So this is a significant thing that we should be aware of, because it helps us to make sure that we perform our salah no matter what, under any circumstance that we find ourselves in. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give our brothers and sisters relief and to give us blessings through this knowledge. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.